Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast. Today we are in the studio with a client and a guest today, Mr. Joy Sanchez, down from LA, correct?
Yep.
Down from LA. And we're going to dive deep into his business. I think he has some cool insights and some cool stuff he's doing in a difficult market. And for you guys that listen to the show and you're in San Francisco, you're in LA, you're in New York, you're in Boston, hearing from someone that's in one of those harder markets per se is going to be a fun show. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Joy, why don't you give everyone listening a quick minute elevator summary of you, your business, what you're doing up in LA, what you got going on?
Yeah, so my name's Joy Sanchez. I'm a real estate agent and I do a lot of off-market transactions. And I'm in LA. Been in the business for like 6.5 years now. So I got my real estate license like right when my son was born. Like it was like the day before he was born.
How long ago was that?
6 years ago.
Okay.
So his birthday was June 19th.
Okay.
So just 6 years. But yeah, I've been in the game for a little bit, learning just like everybody else, working in a tough market, but we're getting traction and doing some deals. So yeah.
What was your kind of intro into real estate? Like what shifted? What were you doing before real estate, and what got you into it? Like, oh, that's something I want to get into.
So I was actually way in a different category of life and business and everything else. Like I started playing music at 15, so all I wanted to do was play music.
What kind of music?
Punk rock music.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, punk rock and roll. As fast.
My brother-in-law, he was in the what was it called? I think it was Sprung Monkeys or something like that. It's a really famous like punk, I don't know if it's punk, but rock and roll band. He's a drummer. He's been every country in the world touring.
Drummer? I'm a drummer.
Okay. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, sick. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we're all crazy.
Yeah. that makes sense now. Knowing that. That makes a lot more sense.
You got to be to get into real estate.
Yeah. You got to be somewhat crazy.
So yeah, I started playing music and I really just wanted a job. I didn't want to go to college. And I knew that I'd rather just work a lot and make money and be able to like go on tour. So my stepdad was working in oil and gas, like refineries and everything else. So I got into that and it was really hard work. I built a career out of it pretty much through trial and error, got to the top of my career. Kind of like a lot of people do. I looked at it and went, is this it?
Yeah.
Like 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. And I'm just giving all of myself to somebody else. I'm not even playing music anymore. Like I'm now building a family. So I really just started to look at what was my other dreams besides music and everything else. And my grandmother, she introduced me into real estate in a sense. I always say she was a real estate investor by accident because she bought a house that everybody told her she was crazy to buy. It was her dream to live in Redondo Beach. She bought the craziest house from like a cat lady. It smelled horrible, I was told. And she ended up fixing it up little by little. A real estate agent knocked on her door one day and said, hey, I have a client who wants to buy your house. They gave her an offer that she kind of couldn't refuse. And she sold it and made her first like bunch of money. She didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. So she made like a bundle of money. And she did it over and over and over again. And my grandmother raised me, so she would buy these houses. I would see her fix them up over 2-3 years.
So like live-in flips.
Live-in flips, okay. Dude. Like earlier I had mentioned.
Was she married?
Yes.
So then you get $500K tax-free too, as long as you own it 2 years. Yeah.
Dude, she cracked the code she didn't even know was there.
So she didn't even know what she was doing.
She had no idea. So a lot of my childhood was going to real estate, like checking it out. Like I didn't know what we were doing. I just knew that we were having fun, going and looking at houses all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why I said earlier that I lived in San Diego for a year.
Yeah.
Another one. So she lived at that one only for a year because it was kind of far from LA, from the family. Yeah. So she wanted to just get back. But anyway, she introduced me to that. And I really came back to like, I've always kind of wanted to do that. Like I got exposed to it. So I thought I wanted to be a flipper. Right. And then I discovered bigger pockets like a lot of people do, and I started getting into the community and just going down the rabbit hole of all of the things real estate. So that was kind of what transitioned me into real estate.
I love that, man. Yeah, I think one of the things you said that I'll double click on is I meet a lot of people that are working jobs and doing deals, or that are thinking about making a leap, or that they're not even thinking about it. They're in their career. And I saw something once that shifted my perspective on working a career, where it was, if you walk down to the guy 3 positions above you, he's the GM, he's the CEO, he's the COO of the business, and you meet him and you look at his calendar and look at his life, do you want that life or not? And if you're working in oil and gas, you go find the guy that's 5 promotions above you, and you can kind of see a glimpse into your future, right? Like, that is your future.
Absolutely.
Unless you make a shift. And it's a really big shift to make. And one of the things I like to hit on is what psychologically, obviously you're around real estate with your grandma, and she was an accidental real estate investor. But what was the psychological, cobwebs you had to break through to go from W-2 to running a real estate business and to being self-employed? Because that's not an easy leap to make.
It was the hardest leap.
Yeah.
It was the hardest leap because, well, it's actually funny that I want to just touch on what you just said. Is the last company that I worked for, this was through COVID, right? So COVID hit, my son was just born. I got my real estate license and I was really stoked on getting into this venture. And then COVID hits and the world is upside down and you can't have open houses anymore. And I'm like, well, that's out of the...
It's probably one of the weirdest times to get into the business.
Yeah. So I was like, that's off the table. So I got a job offer. I worked that for about a year. I got to senior management.
Was that, where was that?
That was in Bakersfield.
It was in Bakersfield, okay.
So I had to move my entire family out there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I moved out there.
So you got into real estate and then took a job offer.
And then took a job offer because I just couldn't. I was like, I can't do this right now.
It was weird, yeah.
Imagine trying to build a business in the world. Like, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And, it was just a crazy time. So I moved my family to Bakersfield kind of on a whim. Because now I'm like, okay, I got to provide for my family. I just got my real estate license. I'll figure it out over there, right? The company that I worked for, I got really close with them. I got up to senior management, ended up being their senior operations manager, got really close with the CEO, and realized really quickly I didn't want his life. I mean, I'm looking around. His house is huge. He's got all the toys. He's got all the bells and whistles. On paper, he's the person you want to be. But after having a couple drinks with him one-on-one, he was telling me his kids don't talk to him. He basically was never around, X, Y, and Z, the traditional entrepreneur that just lets it all slip away. So I was up in Bakersfield. I said, I need to really learn how the business works. I need to focus on off-market stuff, right? I got introduced into Thatch.
Yeah.
So found Thatch online.
Yeah. Started saying fuck how.
Yeah, started saying fuck how, dude. Looked at everything and I just said, you know what? I got to take the leap. I actually saved money and I quit my job altogether, dude. I do not recommend doing that.
Before you had done a deal?
Before I had done a deal, dude.
And was that you bought Thatch's program with that money, or what did you do with that money?
I joined Thatch's program. I saved up almost 60 to 70 grand. I thought that was enough. And I just took a leap of faith, quit my job, and made a terrible decision to just think that it was going to be super easy. And I had not even known the basics yet. So I sold myself on a drink.
Negotiated with the seller.
Had not even door knocked or cold called.
Yeah. That was fuck how to the max.
That was crazy.
Threw the hat over the wall, right?
Yeah.
That's Thatcher's thing.
So just imagine the conversations with my wife, because they were not fun. Yeah. Let's just say it was not a good couple of years, right? I had to sink or swim. So I had really no choice at that point. I went out and I door knocked as much as possible. And I don't know if you've ever been to Bakersfield.
It's a rough place to door knock.
Yeah, and it's 110 degrees, dude. So I'm out there dying, looking for a deal, don't even know what a deal looks like, and I finally land somebody who's ready to go. I talk to them for a couple of months, and another investor comes in and basically takes the deal.
Oh.
Yeah.
An investor that you had brought to the deal?
No, or just somebody else buyer? Out of the blue.
Okay.
Yeah. They come in, take the deal. The day that she goes to sign, she calls me at 10 o'clock at night, right? She goes, I was supposed to sign with this other guy. you seem like you really cared about me and my situation. I would love to talk to you. I know it's late, but I just am really in a bad position right now. That was my first deal. And it was one of the biggest deals we did. It ended up being a $50,000 margin.
Your first deal.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, man. I mean, my first deal was over 100, and
that's crazy.
Throwing the hat over the wall works, dude. Like as long as you show up and you put in the work, I rarely hear stories of, oh yeah, I door knocked every day, I tried to figure it out, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So you're up in Bakersfield, you do your first deal. You've gone through the process. You understand how title and escrow works. A lot of the things that feel like they're, hidden behind a wall are now in front of you. And then you move back to LA after that deal?
I moved back to LA about 8 months after that deal.
Okay. So how many deals have you done by the time you moved back?
I did 3.
Okay. So you did 3 deals, 90-ish grand in revenue, 100 grand in revenue, whatever it was. And you moved back to LA, which is a difficult market.
Yep.
And then what happens? How do you start getting leads? How do you start trying to build a business now that you're back in LA, which is, a hard place to start a business?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I moved back to LA, I was cold calling only LA because I knew I was coming back. So I was trying to build leads up as much as possible.
And you just grabbed a list and were just calling yourself?
I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I'm calling everybody that had 20% equity, which is not a good way to do it.
That's crazy.
My lists are like 50,000, and I had to pick, like 1,000 at a time to skip trace because I got to pay to skip trace.
You got a budget. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am just cold calling everybody and anybody, and I'm not really getting any traction. So I started to focus on what does a list really look like, right? And I started filtering them out. I started calling pre-probate, pre-foreclosure, probate lists, all the big ticket ones. And I got a little bit more traction. I got a couple more deals under my belt, but it was still very hit or miss. Now, where I think everything started to shift is when I took a step back and I go, okay, I've done high level stuff at different companies before. This can't be that different. If I just take a step back, get emotionally unattached and look at it like data, I think it's going to change things for me. Almost like if I was consulting my own business, right? So I did that and I started to really hone in on if I'm door knocking, I'm only door knocking the worst houses, like the ones that cannot go for conventional.
And I apologize there, 'cause I think that's an important thing. I talk about this a lot. You went from kind of the shotgun approach to I'm going to pull everyone that has 20% equity.
Yeah. Which
is a lot of those people have no interest in selling. And to the sniper approach of I'm going to talk to and find beat up homes.
Yeah.
And I think that's early on in your journey, you only have time or money. And the reason we're going all the way back to the beginning as we get into the show, and we'll get to where you are now, is because those little shifts, if someone out there's listening and is 5 deals in or 20 deals in or 30 deals in, and like my marketing's not working, but there's sending mailers to people, everyone at 20% equity, all of a sudden you go, where the hell did my money go? Right.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to double click on. And for you guys that are listening is if you're going to spend money on marketing, market to people who have a higher likelihood of selling their property. So
absolutely.
You're door knocking in LA now, beat up homes. As that ramped up for you, where did you feel like, because you're kind of in hustler mode at this point, you're not door knocking. When did you first kind of feel like you started to go from hustler to business owner? Or like hustler to you have a system, hustler to there's like clarity on how do you make this thing consistent? Because I remember after my first like 10 deals, I was terrified because I'm like, okay, I've done some deals, but like I'm going to burn out. How do I turn this into a process, a system, a business?
Absolutely. And you know what? It hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
So like keeping it real, November of last year, I really started to tell myself, okay, if I'm doing this for the long run, I got to figure out how to get some predictability in my business, because are we going to pay the mortgage or are we not is a shitty game.
Yeah.
It's not a fun place to be.
Is this deal going to close or am I going to be out of business?
Exactly.
Which is a kind of a rite of passage of business too, though. So like everyone goes through that. And I remember being in my office in Renton it's stressful in the situation, but funny looking back at it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, if this deal closes, I can pay, we can make our office lease and stay in business. If this deal doesn't close, I don't know what the hell we're going to do.
I don't know what we're doing. We're eating top ramen or are we eating lobster? I don't know.
One of the two. Yeah.
Nothing, and our cycles in real estate, a traditional, deal is 30 days, right? But building up to get that lead ready, that's what people forget about. Like it could be a year of nurturing somebody, right? So the better systems and the better leads and everything else you have in a pipeline, the more consistency you can have, right? Because when you're doing this as a business, depending on where you live, you want to have a couple of deals predictably closing every month for you to feel like, okay, I can take a vacation, I can get the nice car, I can whatever it is that is aligned for you. So November last year, I tried to pull myself out of hustler mode because I was making it happen in hustler mode somehow, some way. But if you asked me, where does your business come from? I would say, well, it depends. Like one came from here, one came from there. I didn't have any consistency. And I'll just take it back, and I'm not trying to add any fluff to this, but I remember listening to a podcast and you were on it. It was Bigger Pockets.
Was it the Better Life one or was it?
It was the second one.
So
because you were on there twice.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. It was actually, I listened to both of them that day. But what I took away from all of that, and I had listened to like 20, 30 real estate podcasts before that throughout the month. Like, what am I doing with my spare time, right? I'm listening to podcasts. What I realized was like, oh, I need systems. I need predictability and systems. And the way that you spoke about things was different. There was no hype. There was just like, this is what it takes to build a business. It was really straightforward, really cut and dry. And I was like, I used to work with a lot of engineers, and I was like, like engineers are no fluff. They're not like getting you pumped up in the morning. They're like, this is what we're going to do. 90%, success rate or something really straightforward. So basically when I, fast forward, I hired you guys out to, bring in some leads for me. That was November last year. About January, February, things really started to kind of take off for me because once I had those leads coming in, I had to build systems for them. Now I was really locked in from a different mental.
Yeah.
I literally was like, I've never had a CRM dialed in before, but when I had those leads coming in, I was like, oh, so I should have some automation here. I should have this. I should have drip campaigns for the people that are not responding right away. I should have all of these things in place. So I just really got obsessed with building that out. Mm-hmm. That's when I started to really see things be predictable, and I really do think that being a part of this community is really different from going back to a lot of the hype. A lot of people want to sell you on a dream.
Here's my Maybach. Here's my Rolls Royce. Which is all good stuff. If
people
want that, have it. But I think the trap is once you're really in business and you're experiencing how hard business is, that's a really small part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you choose to do with your money is different. Now, I get it. They're trying to attract you to it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And, what is going to attract you to it?
Yeah.
A piece of software or a brand new car. I get it. And
if I led with lifestyle, I'd probably have 10 times the audience I do.
Probably.
But I had this conversation with the previous kind of social media manager I had because he kept trying to push me that direction. I'm like, here's why I don't want to go that direction. I want to work with people that are real operators, that are genuine people, and that aren't like the I'm trying to get rich quick crowd. And I feel like when you lead with lifestyle, you get the get rich quick crowd.
And real estate attracts it.
And real estate attracts everyone. The reality is, that's what I
filter those people.
Everyone wants to be in real estate.
Yeah.
Like the senior in college, the person in their W-2.
Yeah.
Even the people that run businesses that are in different industries.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be in real estate. It's a sexy thing. So when you go, hey, this is my Rolls Royce, I bought it by flipping houses, everyone's like, oh my goodness, right? So, but I understand that side. But you're hitting on something important. I have a framework I call LCO, Leads, Conversions, Operations. What you just hit on is exactly what I tell people. You solved your lead flow problem.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have lead flow and you're working on sales process or operations and CRM, you're doing it for no reason.
Yeah.
So you solve the lead flow problem. One of the things I want to hit on the lead side before we move to conversion is, what was your expectation of what a lead was versus what in reality a lead was, and how did you have to shift your mind from, hey, I think this is what a lead is, versus no, this is actually what a real estate lead is? Because a lot of people get stuck there for a long time. And I've talked to people. I talked to someone today that's been in business for 7 years, and he's like, man, no matter what marketing channel I use, like, I just don't get leads. And I'm like, what's a lead do you use? Like, someone who's ready to sell. And I'm like, that's not how.
Very rare.
It's not how it works, right? So
I've had that happen.
yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
But
Yeah.
I've had it happen once.
Yeah.
You're talking about a lot of people. I've had a lot of conversations. And that's really what you got to do. You got to have conversations with people. Now, a lead is somebody who's showing some type of interest, whether it's realistic or not in the conversation is a little bit different.
Yep.
Because I used to have the belief, so this is like a two-part thing, because I used to have the belief that if somebody said, yeah, I mean, I'll sell you my house for 1.5 million, and then you're looking at Zillow and it's worth 700,000, you think this isn't a lead.
Yeah.
But there might be some motivation there, right? So for me, a lead is somebody who has shown some type of interest in selling their home. And my job is to go in there and try to extract the information through the discovery period, through just a normal conversation. I don't get really big into the perfect script and you got to do this and it's a 3-step process. I just have a conversation with somebody, and then it either vibes or it doesn't. Because even if they are motivated to sell, they might sell to me or they might sell to the next person. You know, I don't know. It's just like marketing.
Yeah.
Some people respond to a postcard. Some people respond to a phone call. Some people respond to a text message. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't know which person's going to be the one that sells. And I tell people this, like,
Exactly.
across any marketing channel, you very rarely get someone that goes, hey, I want to sign a contract tomorrow for less than market value. It does happen. It's happened to me. My biggest deal ever was someone that said, hey, I love to see young guys hustling. I know I could sell this house for 600. I'm going to give it to you for 425.
That's beautiful.
And I've had that happen a couple
Yeah.
times. That's the minority.
Yeah.
Most leads are, hey, I would love $500,000 for my home. Zillow says 475. I'm going through a divorce.
Yep.
And then you help them solve that problem.
Yeah.
You build rapport, you go through discovery. At the end of all of it, you go, okay, well, I think I can solve the issue of you don't want to come back to the state to deal with the property. I think I can solve the issue of I need to help you get a self-storage locker to store your valuables until you can come back and get them. I think I can solve your issue of you need to sell in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you and I on the same team, the market's not telling us that I can pay you $500,000, or I would. And you get to the price last. So I think that's valuable. And anyone I know that's been a client of ours for years and years, or that I see really crush it in this business long term, they are able to switch their psychology from marketing as magic to marketing allows me to just talk to real people who have a need in relation to the asset that they own.
Absolutely. And fall in love with just having conversations.
Yep.
And doing it in a way where you're collecting data, but you're still having a good conversation. You're flowing. You're not calling them to check things off a list. You know, that's kind of weird, right? But if I'm going to, I don't know, an event and I want to meet somebody, I'm going to ask them interesting questions about them.
Yep.
Right. And when people open up and you start to learn little things, like people that are more closed off, I might say something like, hey, sometimes the property records are a little off. You know, is this a 3-bedroom, 2-bath? But I know it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And they go, no, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And I go, okay, like, can you tell me a little bit more about the property? Like, I know your husband, you said he was in charge of everything, but do you remember him like replacing the roof at any point? Oh yeah, he did. But you know, it's like, you're just extracting information. And once you build rapport with people, and like you said, once you start to solve problems, it puts you in a place of you're helping them. And now they're coming to terms with, you're not just trying to take their house, right? Because you're calling out of the blue. Yeah. You're contacting these people from cold all the way to try to get them to sign over one of the biggest assets that they have. So I think for a lot of people, they get into it from a place, and this is kind of like one of my pet peeves is people coming to a place and expecting something because they deserve it, yet they've never worked for it, right? So it's like it's like a sense of entitlement, right? To want to call somebody and they're going to sell you the house the next day at a 70%
No
of what it's worth.
relationship.
Yeah.
No relationship. That was their first call.
Let's just call it what it is. It's
Yeah,
entitlement, dude.
yeah.
So it's like, leave that somewhere else. If you're in this space, become a professional problem solver, right? So, okay, 3 weeks ago, we closed September 4th or 5th. I think it's the 5th. But 3 weeks ago, I was neck and neck with another real estate investor on a lead. This lead comes through, talk to her. She's pretty much ready to go. She kept kind of rescheduling the appointment. I didn't know there was another party involved. Come to find out, we were neck and neck, same price point. She's getting ready to sign with the other person. The reason she signed with us is because I said, outside of price, I wish I could improve my price. I just can't. What else is there that you need? And so I started to ask her discovery questions. She's moving to Colorado. I said, do you have the funds and the means to move to Colorado? She goes, I never even thought about that. And I go, well, it's pretty pricey to get all of your stuff. She can't pack anything. So she has to hire movers and go to Colorado.
Yeah. Which is $5,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, it's going to be about $6,000 to $7,000. Let's do this. Let's get you a $10,000 release of EMD on day 7 so that you can pack all your stuff comfortably and not have to worry. And if you need a couple days in a hotel out there while you're transitioning and everything else, you have the means. You're not living on a budget. That got us the signature. She's so stoked.
That's so powerful, man. Because I talk about that so much of, well, if you can solve someone's problem around the sale becomes a secondary thought. Yeah. Because there's going to be 100 companies that can offer what you're offering in terms of price. Exactly. Price isn't what we do. Yeah. Price is an important part of it. It's what lets us transact. But you just solved their problem. And no one else probably asked you that question. And that's the difference between people who in this business can make it a decade, 2 decades, and the people that struggle and are entitled. So that's a brilliant story. What will that deal be net to you?
This one it wasn't big margin. This is a repeat client though, so I'm pretty stoked on it, but we're walking away with 15.
Yeah, it's a great deal. All by asking one question that otherwise might not have been a deal at all, right?
But if you really break that down, it was like 3 conversations plus an hour walkthrough for $15,000.
I've done the math on this. If you are in real estate and you're getting better at sales, on average, people make about $300 per hour. They sit in the seat and talk to sellers. Yeah. Because I've done the math based on average cost per lead, average deal size, average assignments being flip, and I did it on a YouTube video I'm releasing. And on average, if you're talking to sellers to do real estate, you're getting paid just as well as most attorneys.
It's crazy.
And so if you can reframe it from, I hope I get a deal this month, to, no, I'm getting paid $300 just sit in this seat and talk to sellers, you would sit in the seat as long as you possibly could, right? So that's cool, man. Well, we talked about the intro journey into real estate, going up to Bakersfield, kind of the rite of passage, your dark night of the soul, what went into that. We talked about how the mindset shift from going from, a hustler to a business owner. We started getting you leads. We talked a little about some of the deals. Walk me through how you handle conversion. That was one example. In a market like LA, that's harder. I get this question a lot. I was on with some of our clients today that are in LA also, northern part, kind of towards Santa Barbara. Okay. How would you tell someone listening to the show that's in a more difficult real estate market? Like, what is your thought process? I know real estate solutions company is a big part of it, asking more questions, being a problem solver, a professional problem solver, not being entitled. But how do you think about, if you had to tell someone in a 2-minute summary, how to think about real estate sales and putting transactions together in a market like LA? How would you encompass that?
That's a heavy question. I would say the first thing you need to do is get the belief out of your head that it's a tougher market because people are transacting left and right. Yes, it could be tougher compared to certain places, but if you look at it differently, if you're wholesaling in, I don't want to offend anybody, if you're wholesaling in a different state and you're making $5,000 per transaction, and you're working a lot harder, and you look at, you have to look at business from a bird's eye view of like 1 to 2 years, 3 years, and even 5-year cycles, right? If you look at how much you could gross off of 3 deals, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. You make 150K and somebody else has to do 30 to 40 deals to do the same amount of numbers. Is it a harder place, or do you have to do less work? You just talk to more people, or maybe the same amount of people, right? So I think the first thing we got to do is kind of shift the mindset a little bit, because I'm stoked now to be in LA.
Yeah, exactly. Once you realize, like, I could be a call away from $150,000 deal.
Yeah.
It changes your psychology.
And I asked you this question when I first signed on. I said,
remember.
Should I be in a different market? And you're like, work in your backyard because you know it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I went all in. I think the second part of it is understanding that you might have a tougher time finding the lead because you have to get a little bit more creative. In LA, there's huge upside to development where you don't have that on the outskirts of the country. So you can get a deal that's a single family. Zillow says 900,000. They want 900,000. And you could sell it to a developer because you've done the work and you understand the zoning. You understand it's a 6,000 square foot LARD, 1.5 or a R3 lot or something like that. And you're like, now you look at this and you go, I want to find every property within this zone that's zoned like this and go, I will give you Zillow's value of the property. I'm not here to give you 70% on the dollar. Versus the people that are calling that don't know the neighborhood are calling them and they're offering 70% of the value. You're offering full value and you can sell it to your developers. So I think it's shifting things a little bit and getting more creative with where you're at, right? In certain markets, all you have is really one exit strategy. You sell it to you sell it to a flipper as a wholesaler, and they can either flip it yourself or somebody else flips it, and there's maybe a $30,000 to $40,000 profit for them. But there's no development opportunity. There's no, you know what I'm saying? They're not maybe in a dense market, right? Like we have ADU opportunities. We have SB9 opportunities. We have all these other things.
And that's the value of knowing your market and not being a nationwide investor. Like, I'm doing deals in Alabama and Arkansas and Denver. And I'm like, okay, but you're not building a brand. You're not building a business.
Yeah.
Right? Building a business means you have a brand. And real estate, building a business, you have a brand in your area. You know the product, you know the buyers, you know the zoning.
Yeah.
Because like in LA, like you can do a deal in LA. Like you're saying, you can pay on market value and sell it to a builder. But there's also going to be that time when someone wants 600.
Yeah.
And you can sell it to a builder for 820. And you only get those kind of home runs. Like I always tell people in real estate, all the real wealth is made when you become the best in your market.
Absolutely.
And it takes a long time to do that, but the people willing to stick it out and figure that out win. So your conversion process is kind of just, and if you're in a harder market, be patient, get creative, solve problems. I mean, there's not much else to it. I would love to give the magic wand. And reps, right? Reps.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, absolutely. If you're not spending your time on the phone talking to sellers or at people's doors, which doors are very limiting. You can only knock so many doors.
Yep.
If you're going to spend
LA,
2 hours.
it takes you 45 minutes.
Yeah, if you're going to spend 2 hours doing something, I would say be on the phone.
Yeah.
But you need to have the conversations. You need to get hung up on. You need to have, you're calling anybody and everybody, so you never know who's on the other side of that phone. But getting really good at the process of conversation and kind of leading people through the process of discovery, like understanding what things to ask. And if you didn't, in your CRM, document what the conversation was, and maybe, I forgot to ask them about this. Like, what is the timeline? I talked to them about wanting to sell, but they said not right now. And then I hung up and I forgot, like, when is the right time? In 5 years, 10 years, or is it like in 2 months, So more reps on the phone is 100% what you need to do. On the way over here, it's kind of crazy because, on the way over here, I'm like, okay, I have this long drive. I'm going to just go through some of the warmer leads and just start calling them and seeing what's going on. One of them just happened to be ready. We're going to meet next week, So it's just like, be on the phone. So normally if you're driving somewhere, you're probably, listening to music or a podcast or something like that. But if you're in building mode, and you're wanting to nurture these leads, use whatever time you have to just put yourself into the business and fall in love with it, fall in love with the business.
What is your day-to-day right now like in terms
Yeah.
of how do you structure your day now?
Yeah.
We're sending you leads, obviously. You're getting better and better at sales. And then we'll get to operations and head towards the end. But how do you structure your day currently?
So in the morning, I do my thing, which is gym, getting the kids ready for school, dropping them off. I will usually use the morning for more like admin stuff, just so I'm not thinking about it. Like when I go into my lead gen, following up and stuff, I want to go in with a clear head. I don't want to go in knowing I have to email somebody back, for some random thing. And then early afternoon. So I do all my walkthroughs, all that stuff during the day where if I'm meeting somebody in person, I'm more of a morning person. So I want to be like high energy when I'm over there. I want to be like on my toes. I don't want to go over there and just be like all in a bad mood, dragging my feet. So I do all of that stuff first. Anything that has to do with like face to face, I try to do until like 3:00. Now I go to our office at about 4. So from 4, and I like talking to people in the afternoon because now I'm more mellow.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to that older lady about her cat.
Yeah,
that just got out of the vet,
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that from about 4 to about 6, 7 o'clock. And I actually have a pretty good connection rate at that time. Because
Well, it's after work. Yeah.
Yeah. People are home. They're not at work running around. And then I do any admin stuff like right after that. That's like the last stuff. That's like the home stretch, kind of like I'm just getting any little loose ends wrapped up before the next day. And I'm doing all my comps and stuff like that at the end of the day. So I don't do any like analyzing of properties, anything like that during the day because I'll get sucked into that black hole, So I like to do everything at night. And then I head home around 8:00. And I do that 4 days a week. And then on Fridays, I'm home probably at 5 or 6, have dinner with the family. And then weekends, I try to leave open as much as possible. I'll maybe do a property walkthrough or something like that. But I try to keep everything on a tight schedule so that I can still have a life. Because that's why I started this business, so I can be with my family and everything. So
there's a Dan Martell quote where he talks about right before, I think it was not his current wife, he was engaged before. And he had just come home and like sold his company and made whatever, $1 gazillion. And he came home and his wife had left. His fiance had left. And they were talking and they're at the end of their engagement. She was like, I never asked for all of that. And I think that's a valuable thing for entrepreneurs. Like what you're saying is that you met the CEO in Bakersfield. Now you're applying those lessons.
That's huge.
You could stay in the office till 8, or you could be in the office all day, and maybe you could, instead of making $500,000, you can make $1.2 million. But I think that has to be a conversation within a family of, what do you want?
Absolutely.
So that I think that was something good to double click on. But as we move towards the end of the show, I want to hear about what you're now. Let's move to the O. So we talked about leads, talked about conversion. Let's move to operations. What is your vision for your operation? What are you trying to build? If we fast forwarded 6 months, what does winning look like for you in your business 6, 12 months in the future?
I love that question. It's something I think about all the time. Every day when I wake up, I do journal. It's something I've just grown fond of. I don't think it's something anybody has to do. It just works for me.
Gets you out of your head.
It gets me out of my head. I have a lot going on up here.
You're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, and it's just like it puts it on paper and it organizes it, and I clear my head a little bit. When I look at the next 6 to 12 months, there's one thing I want to do is put money back in the business. I want to improve leads coming in because I want more of what's happening right now.
So more leads.
More leads, dude. Now, I do want a leads manager eventually, but according to your team, I have to do a time audit because they're like, you could be addressing more leads. So let's wait on that and let's get you more leads to the point where you absolutely need somebody else to come in.
Suffocate.
Yeah.
I like to use the word suffocating.
And I'm not there yet, to be truthful.
And that's how I know in my life, like if it's time to hire someone or do something, is if I'm suffocating in a certain thing that's when I know. Like if it's to the point where it's taking away my efficiency other places, you let it go. So if you're suffocating, then yes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know who told you that on my team, but I agree with him.
Yeah. It was actually Nelson. So
Yeah, I agree with him.
he was like, let's do a time audit. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have done recently is my wife is also an agent. We work together. She was only in the traditional side, but now when I get a property under contract and it goes into escrow, I don't like that stuff. So I give it to her to manage. We do have a TC. So I think $500 for a TC is the absolute best.
No brainer.
Dude, the best investment ever for when you're in the transaction for all those random little pieces of paper that come up, or somebody has a solar lease or something like that, have them kind of take all that stuff to the finish line. But I think the next 6 to 12 months is really just increasing lead flow and going back, maybe having my VA, because we do have a VA for a couple hours a week, go back through and kind of talk to a lot of the older leads and stuff like that have kind of just been dying off in nowhere land. Haven't talked to them in forever because they were unresponsive and things like that. I'm sure there's some gold there, but really for me, my ultimate goal right now is just to increase leads, get more deals under my belt, and then build this up to the point where if I wanted to start cherry picking and fixing and flipping, I can be positioned to do so without it affecting my bread and butter, which is this operation.
I love it.
Yeah.
I like it, man. I like it. It's simple. I think it's really hard it's harder to keep things simple than it is to make things complex.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's very simple. And simple is scalable, simple is profitable. So as we head to the end of the show, question I ask all of our guests. If someone came up to you at an event, at a conference, and said, am I a good client for Easy Button?
Yeah.
What would you tell them? Who would you say is the right client for Easy Button Real Estate, and what we do for people between the leads, the conversion support, and helping them build their operation?
I think you just got to be coachable.
Yep.
And put in the work. You don't
You used a good word, entitled, and I haven't conceptualized it that way yet, but I liked that, where you said and I agree, if someone's entitled, they're not a good client for us, because
they're not.
Business takes time, energy, money, and effort.
Absolutely.
And so, back to you.
So the conversation I had earlier, they were one of the first leads that came in.
Damn.
So, but the more time you have in it, also get your time frame adjusted. Again, with the entitlement thing, if you come in and you expect leads to come in and you're making $1 million tomorrow, you're not a good client for the business, because you have to come in with an open mind. You have to give it time. You as a person have to get better at what you do. And you really have to be coachable, use the resources. For instance, I had a difficult deal I couldn't sell. I hopped on one of the calls. I was literally driving somewhere. I pulled over.
That. I remember the question.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, how do I connect with somebody? I don't have a buyer for this. I was trying to sell it to my buddy. He didn't get approved for the financing. Now I'm at the end of my inspection period on this thing. I'm trying to sell it. Somebody else tried to tie it up. They fell through on it. I'm like, this is crazy. And you're connect with other agents. I called an agent. They had a buyer. Close the deal. 5 minutes of using my network and my resource helped me close that. I know I should be giving you a referral fee on this thing, dude.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but it is little tweaks like that, though, man. I found in usually everyone wants a big solution and a big answer and a magic wand, but it's usually just a simple tweak that makes the difference. So
those little things, those little adjustments. I mean, it's not, exactly like you say. We expect certain things to be these drastic changes, but it's just doing the work over time. It statistically, it's going to work out, I
mean, just do this. You do the math on it. Let's say that you are able to close 1 out of 50 leads that come into your system. Yeah. Which is just, I don't know what your math is, but just use, for example, just for you guys listening. If you're able to close 1 out of 50, your average deal size is, let's say, 30 grand in LA. I don't know what it is. And everyone wants a magic wand, but if you just look at that and you say, okay, well, what if I close 1 out of 40? Mm-hmm. I get so good at sales that instead of 1 out of 50, I can close 1 out of 40. Absolutely. I meet more buyers. I get better at underwriting. Well, out of 200 leads, 1 out of 50 is 4 deals.
Yeah.
1 out of 40 is 5 deals. If your average deal size is $30,000, just decreasing how many leads you need per deal by 20% increases your business by $30,000 every 200 leads you get.
Yeah.
Imagine now you get 200 leads in a month. Okay, you just increased your business by $400,000 per year by just shifting that one number a little bit. And for people don't look at that because one, they don't look at their data. But if you
I've
take
gotten
business,
obsessed with the
you have to.
KPIs because, one of my goals is for me to come back in 16 months and go, this is what I've been doing. Like, what should we do?
Yep.
And nobody can help you in your business if all you're saying, if you're just having a conversation about your business. They need to be able to look at it and go, okay, this many deals come in, or these many leads come in. This is your conversion cycle. This is how many you've closed. This is how much you've actually made net. Where should we tweak it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's 100% true. And the reality is, like, feelings are dangerous in business.
Yeah.
Because you can have a bad night of sleep. You can have, you have young kids, things can happen, kids can get sick, and that can create feelings of, oh, something's off in my business. But if you look, I had this week. I came in this week kind of feeling off, and on Monday, I'm like, maybe we need to change some things. But I look at their data and I'm like, no, nothing needs to change.
Yeah.
So, super valuable points today, man. Well, we're definitely going to have you back on. Well, we could have gone 2 hours easily today.
Dude.
There's no doubt about that. You said you're an introverted before the show. Ton of fun, man. You did great.
I drank some espresso shots.
Yeah.
To get prepped.
Yeah. But you guys, thanks for sticking around for another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast. Joy, if they wanted to reach out to you, if they're in LA, they want to get in touch, Instagram, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, Instagram, that's like the best way to get in contact with me. So it's Joy, Joy. Yes, my name is Joy. My dad was a hippie, so
it's a good name.
Joy_Los Angeles Realtor.
I love it, man. Simple, easy. And until next time, you guys, we don't grow this show through paid advertising. It's all through word of mouth, and it's been doubling in downloads for a few weeks in a row. So tell a friend, leave us a review, let us know who you want to see on the show, what you want to see on the show. Joy's an amazing client. If you guys need help with everything you talked about today, you know where to go down below the show notes. And until next time, you are only one deal away.